A pentagram is a symmetrical five-pointed star that fits perfectly inside a pentagon. All the lines are the same length and all angles are the same. Because of this, many people have found it to represent natural harmony, peace, and balance. Neo pagans often use the pentagram to create a pentacle circle in which they can safely perform spells and rituals. Today, I will show you how we might reference the points of the pentagram as they represent the elements of earth, air, fire, water, and spirit to ensure we are in balance before we approach the darkness ahead. Greetings. Okay, I totally get it. I totally get it. Rebecca, it's October and everybody is looking for ideas for Samhain coming up at the end of the month. I do get it. I am as anxious to get into talking about Samhain as the next person. But I want to remind you, we just celebrated and observed Mabon just a week ago, a little more than a week ago. So I think we need to really examine what it is that is important. What do we need to do that is important before we can actually say that it's time to prepare for Samhain? And what I want to talk to you about is balance. We're approaching the dark time of the year. Okay, everybody is very familiar, especially if you watch this channel and many more channels here on YouTube. You're very aware what we mean when we talk about the dark half of the year. At the equinox, the days, the periods of day and night were equal in length, but from that day on forward up until Yule, it's going to be increasing darkness every day. We all have the idea of a sleepy, dark winter, even as the light starts to approach to come back after Yule. It's still dark. It's still winter. It's many of us here in the northern hemisphere are our clothes have been inside our houses, our windows are closed. We might be experiencing storms, rain, cold temperatures. This is the time when a lot of us spend working on doing shadow work, etc. Okay, so it's an important time for us, and also to prepare. We're doing a lot of things to prepare and beginning to prepare for the coming light in the next year. But before we can do that, we need to really make sure that we are in balance. Why do I say that? Well, there's a lot of things other than just the approaching darkness, physical darkness coming with the light. This is the time of the year that many of us are getting ready to celebrate holidays, other kinds of holidays, mundane holidays with family. Here in the U.S., we have, after Halloween or Samhain, we have coming up Thanksgiving in November. We have Christmas and New Year's coming up, Hanukkah. There's a lot of religious observances that people spend time with families in the month of December and into January. So we want to really be in balance. We want to nip things in the bud, as my grandmother used to say. We want to take care of business before it's going to be business that's going to cause us problems. Okay. So we also have here in the U.S. the election coming up in November, which people are really very, very tense, very tense, waiting for the election. And most people, regardless of how they stand on the outcome, agree that there's probably going to be some little bit of dissidence here in the United States following the election, depending on the outcome. There's still going to be some adjustment. Let's call it adjustments, which may be very uncomfortable. So it is imperative at this time for all of us to be sure that we're keeping ourselves in balance. I've showed you in the past a few exercises we can do with our tarot cards to check our balance and see where we might be out of balance, right? And I will link those I'll link those videos up here for you so that you can check those out if you're interested. But I'm not talking about tarot today. I am talking about something that everybody things that everybody can do, whether they read tarot or not. If you continue to watch the video, we will be going through each of the elements represented on the pentagram, and we're going to check out to see how we are balanced, if we are balanced within the element, but also how we're going to be balancing those in our lives, how that plays out in our lives, whether or not we're balanced among those elements. And if we are not, I'm going to talk to you about ways that we can correct any imbalances that we could discover. Okay, the first thing that I want to do is to go through each element and just talk a little bit about what kind of themes are represented by each. And then we'll see how we are in balance within the element. And then when we're finished with those, I want to go and talk about how we can restore balance using the pentagram so that the elements are in balance with each other, which in turn will keep us better grounded in order to go forward. I want to start with Earth. I want to start with Earth because Earth is the bugger for a lot of people. It is really the bugger for a lot of people. It is because it is our connection. It represents our connection to the material world. This is the big thing in a lot of our lives. This represents our jobs. This represents our material possessions, our health, our money, perhaps our fertility. These are the things that when we have an imbalance here with the element of Earth, these are the things that can really knock us off our feet. When we have financial problems, when we have relationship problems, when we have family problems, health problems, this is what can really, affect us in a really severe way. Okay. What else can happen other than just knocking us off our feet? It can lead to imbalance with other elements. For instance, having problems with your family or your relationships or at work, it can affect communication, your ability to communicate with people. Cause communications to break down. That's the element of air. It can cause you to lose sleep or have bad dreams or become overly emotional. There's the element of water. An earthly imbalance can keep us from achieving our goals or realizing our dreams that we had, taking the creativity, taking the passion away from us. That affects the fire element. And ultimately, it can cause us to have great distortions or great distortions in our own identity, cause us to be depressed or to lose self-esteem. The whole idea of self, how we see ourselves, and that is the element of spirit. For me, that's for me, the element of spirit. Okay, so the element of Earth is a big one. It is a big one, and I suggest you start there. And I think you examine what it is. Go through the things that I have mentioned, and see how you are doing. Are you having problems at work? Are you having problems at home? Are you having problems getting along with people? Are you having problems with your family? Are you having health problems that keep recurring? Okay. Do you have self-esteem problems? Do you have depression? Are you not able to realize your goals? Secondly, we come to the element of air. An imbalance within the element of air can cause all kinds of problems for us. It is because air represents our intellect or our ability to communicate or to come up with ideas or to retain knowledge. It's very, very vital to us in so many ways. If we have an imbalance here, it can lead to misunderstandings. If we're having trouble communicating with family members or with coworkers or with in a relationship, this can be very serious. It can lead to breakdown of these relationships. If we have a problem concentrating, it could lead to problems with school, problems with your job, inability to do your job clearly, to do your job well. Simply, that would be affecting your earthly problems. Have you ever experienced wanting to create something and just staring at a blank page? You want to write something, you have a blank page. You want to draw something, you have a blank canvas, right? You want to cook something. I don't know what I cook. I don't know what to make for dinner. Right? It can affect us in a lot of different ways if we can't concentrate. If we can't come up on the ideas, it causes imbalance with fire because then we cannot create what it is that we need to create. Thirdly, we come to the element of fire. You might not realize it, but you have an imbalance within the element of fire. If you are a person who has a lot of projects begun but not completed, which is the story of my life a lot of times. I don't have any problem coming up usually with the ideas of things I want to make. I get very enthusiastic about it in the beginning, but I have trouble seeing it through. The willpower or the energy that it takes to see things through, the ability to manifest what it is that I wanted that I desired to make in the first place breaks down, okay? That is an element, that is a problem with the element of fire. It affects all of the other elements. It can affect your sleep. If you don't have your energy, if you are lacking with energy levels, it can affect your ability to get a good sleep. It can affect your health, right? Too much. If you have too much energy, too many passions, too many goals, too much stuff, you can burn you out. You can really experience a severe burnout, right? Which can affect your health as well. So it can go either way. The balance is not just a lack of, it can be an excess of in many cases that causes a problem for you. I think it's pretty obvious for me. I have an issue many times with the element of water. I'm a triple Cancer already. Those of you who watch me, I have my sun sign, my moon, and my rising sign all in Cancer. So I am a very emotional person. I have to guard against my emotions all the time. Reacting emotionally, I need to react. I need to use the element of air. I need to think my way through. I need to be more practical with the element of with the element of earth, right? To be more logical and practical. Get my feet on the ground before I take off on some emotional thing. This happens to me a lot, so this is something that I know of that can really get out of balance for me very quickly. I'm intuitive and I am an empath, and I can that can play too big of a part in my life. If I put too much emphasis on things that I know or suspect about other people, can cause problems with communication. It causes problems within air, right? Or it causes problems within, my family or my relationship. I don't think you're telling me the truth. I really know you're not telling me the truth. Sometimes you don't want to say that. You just don't want to go there. Sometimes you just need to let some things roll off your back. Okay, and that's another thing that an imbalance with water can cause is the water element is something that enables you to embrace change, and sometimes you need to be able to go with the flow, and sometimes if you have a lack of ability to do that, that will affect you with a lot of your other issues, right? The other elements represented on the pentagram. Okay, and then finally, I do want to say before I forget, the fifth element, which people forget about all the time, is the fifth point on the pentagram. The one at the top, the one at the very tippy top, is the one on spirit. And it means different things to different people. Some people consider it to be like deity, representing deity, or other things of not of this world, but of the other worlds. For me, usually it represents self, especially in this case when I'm checking my balance. It is myself. It is my self-esteem. It is who I think I am, my thoughts, my identity. And your identity can really be affected very much so by how much in balance you are. This is one of the, in your self-esteem. It's very, very important to keep balance. But also somebody's exaggeration of how important they are also can really wreak havoc on the balance and with the rest of the elements. So it's really important that you keep that in mind. So how do we do this? How do we check for balance? Well, most of us can just, keep the pentagram in front of you and remind yourself of, go through each of these elements one by one and maybe list some of the things that affect you with that element. But really another good way, if you really wanted to really technically be very technical about how much how out of balance you might be, you can use something like simple like mark each point on the pentagram, and use something like pennies, something that you have a lot of, you can find get a lot of, or beads, or you know M&Ms, whatever whatever you want to use, and make little piles. Make little piles of how you think you are imbalanced. You think you're good, or you think you're, maybe too heavy on certain problems in your thing, and see. Then look later and see. Um, oh look, I have too many. I've got a lot of M&Ms over here on my on the water on my water right now. I would say that I would have a lot of M&Ms over my water sign, and maybe where am I neglecting? What am I neglecting? Okay, where don't I have M&Ms? Okay, so you could do something like that. You can do something like that. But it's really not important to really have numbers or really accurate measurements. What is important is to understand. And let's just use our common sense. Okay. If you are having problem communicating with people, right? Let's say you're having a problem communicating. Are you having trouble communicating with people with work? This is very common. A lot of people talk to me a lot about job issues that they have at work, where they're having trouble getting along with their coworkers, for instance. And they just don't feel like they're part of the group. Okay, maybe they think that some of the coworkers are out to maybe, you know, uh, take credit for something that they did themselves, or maybe they feel like, oh, the coworkers are always together, and they go out together, they see each other socially, and they don't see me, and that happened a lot of time. I know when I was working, that kind of happened to me, because I usually worked far away from where I lived. I had families to get home to, etc. And so I wasn't a part of the social scene, whatever, after work, going out for a drink after work, or going to lunch, or whatever. I was trying to get my work done so I could get home to my family. It led to imbalances with my coworkers. Okay, so how can we correct that? Well, if the imbalance is in that with the coworkers, we need to look and see what's causing the imbalance. And I already said here, it seems to be communication, because they're just we don't. I'm not treated the same. I'm not spoken to the same as the rest of them. So perhaps maybe I really want to do something like, I want to spend more time with them. Maybe I want to make a point to sit with them at lunch and talk to them about, just have casual conversation at lunchtime. Maybe I do once a month, perhaps want to stay later and go out with them and catch a drink with them afterwards, so that we could do something social. Maybe they all belong to a bowling league. Maybe we want to go. Maybe I'm not a big bowler, but maybe I could give it a go for one season and see how it goes, and see if they can improve the way that we communicate at work. Take it outside of that element and put it into another. Okay. I can take things like relationships at home. Relationships at home. I think a lot of us had issues. I know a lot of people had issues during COVID when we were all quarantined at home. Some marriages and relationships some of them seem to suffer a little bit. I know that for me personally, it was sort of a difficult time, because I think it was because we were both in the house all the time, staring at each other. I mean, there wasn't a lot of anything else going on in our lives. It was all just talking. We were talking and talking. We're sitting here and looking at each other and talking, but we weren't actually doing anything. The people that really weathered that well are people that used that time to work on projects together. Maybe they started. It could be something as simple as doing puzzles together, or drawing plans, coming up with vacation plans, or when they got out of the quarantine. Or it could have been, learning to, bake bread together, or I know in our we had bought a bus. We bought our bus just right before that, so we were making a lot of plans, planning our bus remodel, etc. Things like that. Okay, that really helps. Take it away, get up from the table, do something else. When we're not quarantined, if you're just in a rut and all you do is every weekend just sit there and watch TV, or sit there and play games, or whatever it is, computer games, or whatever you do, take it outside. Go for walks, go to the park, go to the movies, go to the beach, go to the, walk around the neighborhood, and get ideas for your own garden or whatever. Don't just sit there and say, where the problem is. Take it away. Do something entirely different. Okay? Look where you need it. Look where you need it. Okay? If you're having trouble, like I said, not finishing projects, I used that example a little bit earlier. People starting projects all the time and never finish it. They're great with coming up with the ideas, but they're not so great. So they're really great with the air. They're really strong with the element of air. They have a lot of good ideas. But as far as fire and having the willpower or the ability to stick to it and to see something through to manifestation is where they're lacking. Okay, so take it out of there and go into, let's say, Earth and say, okay, what projects do I have started that I can finish and give somebody a holiday gift in my family or a relationship? Okay, maybe I can do that with some of these projects. That will inspire me to finish them. Or maybe I can get and be inspired to finish a project that I could sell. Take it in and get some money out of it. Take it into the earth again, or the earthly element. Okay, some material possessions. Maybe I can balance it out that way. That will give me the inspiration perhaps to finish something. Okay, don't just keep starting things anew. Okay, do you see what I mean? You want to look and see how you can balance within on the pentagram, how you can get the points of the pentagram in balance. So it's one thing to balance within each of the elements, but it is another thing to balance and don't be all watery and don't be all fire and don't be all air. Okay, you want to be able to balance. That is when we are truly happy, we're truly in balance, and we're truly the best equipped to come, to be strong, and to go through the dark time of the year without getting too melancholy. This is one of the reasons I say it. So many people go into the darkness, they close. We all go in, whether we have cold weather or not. When we approach that time of the year, we close our windows, we close our doors. It's dark. We sit there and we get all cozy, and sometimes we just get very complacent and we don't do much, right? We don't really do much. And then we start getting involved in being, if you do shadow work, we get all in the shadow work, or we get all into introspection, and we get all, it can affect our moods, it can affect our, we can get depressed, we can get depressed, which can affect our sleep, or we can sleep too much. So it can really throw us out. We can get further out of balance than when we started to begin with. Okay. So try to be a little bit honest. Try to be a little bit honest when you're taking this inventory of yourself, and try to correct the imbalances. Okay. And then I promise you, in the weeks to come, we're all going to be doing some things, really fun things to get ready for Samhain. And the next time you see me here, I'm going to be talking about some of those. So just be a little patient and be sure you have a good foundation before you're ready to take off and get into the next Samhain or the next turn of the wheel. Okay, which is coming. It's coming. It's coming very quickly. Okay, just slow down a little bit and take stock of where you are. I don't know if this was helpful for you or not. It was helpful for me, for sure, because this is something that I need to do periodically all the time. I used to do it all the time to get myself into balance. So thank you so much for watching, as always. I am Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.